Hi everyone, today I will be looking at the long-awaited 1/7 scale figure of Karasuba from Prima dooru. This is the second figure to come out in this line of potentially 5 Prima dooru figures by Kotobukiya and Key, and this is a special line that they made where the quality is a little bit higher than the usual Kotobukiya figures. There was a huge wait between Haizakura and then Karasuba actually being announced, but it was quite obvious that they were going to make the rest of the girls, so it was nice when she finally did get her prototype shown. And then despite that, there was actually a really short gap between Karasuba and Gekka, her figure being shown. Hers was very shortly afterwards. The timing was very strange, and since Gekka we haven't actually had any news on Hokiboshi or Reitseru, but hopefully they will be soon. I don't think that they wouldn't make them since they've already made 3 girls and there's only 2 left. The original concept of Prima dooru was actually made in conjunction with Kotobukiya, so these figures are a very main central part of the actual project itself. Each character is designed by a different artist, and only one of them actually works for Key, which is the character designer for Haizakura, which is of course Naga. The rest are all drawn by artists that don't really draw for Key at all. Karasuba is designed by Fujichoko, who is a very famous illustrator, and it was really lovely to see her drawing something alongside Key. And I'll be taking a look at both the figure and her extra bonuses as well in this video. The Kotobukiya pre-order bonus from their shop specifically is this shikshi, and I did not get the shikshi for Haizakura because she was actually sold on the VA Koubaibu store, which is now actually shut, but Haizakura came with a 12-inch record as well, and I thought that they would put each character song on a 12-inch record and release it, but I was wrong, and it only seems to be Haizakura that has had that, so I have that record, but it's quite sad. I think that only Haizakura has this record and then it's just sat there on its own, and it doesn't have the rest of the character songs to go with it. But I decided to go for the Kotobukiya shop version just because this came with the most amount of bonuses and there wasn't a Koubaibu version for this figure, sadly. However, similarly to Haizakura, she does come with an SS booklet and also a CD as well, so that's really nice to see. This is the shikshi, and this is drawn by Fujichoko, who is a phenomenal artist. She really is very talented. As for the box, this is the exact same box that came out for Haizakura. This is the Shokai Seisan Gentei Ban, which is the first run of this figure and comes with all of the special bonuses as well. So we have the logo for Prima dooru, and then Karasuba 1/7 scale pre-painted figure, and then the logo of both Kotobukiya and Key. And also on the top left corner we have the usual visual art sticker of authenticity, which has been used on everything for years. The side of the box is the same as Haizakura, except this time it has feather motifs rather than the blossom ones that Haizakura had. It shows a photo of the figure itself and then just her name, Karasuba, again there. The back of the box has this wooden image with all these photo frames showing photos of the figure herself, and it also shows the contents of this box, so it comes with both the CD, the SS booklet, and also the figure as well. The CD actually has not been shipped yet. Kotobukiya had an issue where they couldn't get the CD prepared in time, so they contacted everyone to say that the CD will be shipped in early April, and I have not received mine yet, and I don't think anyone has, so even if you've pre-ordered this figure you won't have received the CD yet at the moment. But it does come with a slip of paper and a QR code for you to fill in a form with your address and have the CD shipped separately. I'm afraid I can't show the CD in this video, but it will arrive separately later. I'm not too sure what the issues were, but they did let everyone know by email first and then also put this slip of paper within the figure as well. But as for the SS booklet, which is this one here, this features Fujichoko's art on the front there, which is really nice. The same as Haizakura, she gets her own SS booklet, which is really nice to see, and also a character design page as well, so you can look at the various steps that Fujichoko went through to design everything. And here we have the figure in her actual box. This comes within the outer casing box that is specifically for the Shokai Gentei Ban. This is what you would get if you bought the normal edition of this figure, and you can see the figure in the window. This again is the exact same as Haizakura, and Gekka I assume will be the same too, just with different colours and motifs to match her character. At the top it says 1/7 scale pre-painted figure. There is a large window for Karasuba and all of her accessories, and then at the bottom we have Kotobukiya Ki Prima Doru and also her name Karasuba there. The side of the box shows another photo of the figure, and the back of the box we have two photos of the figure, and one of them is a close-up of her face, and the other side is exactly the same as the back of the limited edition outer casing. And here we have Karasuba all assembled and put together on her base. With these figures, the base and all of the accessories come detached and separate, so you need to put them together yourself, but it's fairly simple to do. I would say she was easier than Haizakura just because Haizakura has the double-sided tape that you need to attach to her hands for the tray, but with Karasuba she just holds a menu and it slots into her hands very easily, and she looks fantastic. I'm really pleased with how Karasuba came out. I have to also commend the packaging as well. She had lots of foam and plastic covering every part of her hair, the ponytail, anything that was sharp and looked like it might snap slightly. Everything was covered and protected really nicely. The parts and the base as well, everything was protected very well. Taking a closer look at her face, obviously it's a different character designer, so she does look very different to the Haizakura figure, but I think that's a really nice thing about these figures and just the project in general. I think the fact that Prima Doru has 5 different artists working on it, plus the extra graphickers that will come in and do work as well. The fact that there's so many different types of illustrator working on these characters gives it a really unique look. I do think that her eyes are quite difficult to make as decals since they're very soft. They don't really have line art around them, so I think they've had to substitute a little bit there. But regardless, I don't think it takes away from the artist's style too much. It does look slightly different to the illustration. I think with Naga's art, his eyes are much easier to transfer as decals onto the figure's face, whereas with Fujitoko it's a little bit more difficult. The hair, on the other hand, I think they've done a really good job. The colour's perfect, and also just the way it's been sculpted really matches the art quite nicely. It's very different to Haizakura's hair. I'm glad that they're really taking the fact that each one's drawn by a different artist into account, so you can really see that they're looking at the illustration whilst making these. The cool thing about Karasuba is that the underside of her hair is quite a prominent blue-purple colour, similar to her actual kimono that she's wearing. Underneath you can see this really bright pop of colour underneath her hair, whereas the top is just this dark brownish purple, and it's really cool. If you catch her from a different angle you can see this colour underneath her hair, and I think that looks really nice as a figure. It's quite easily spotted in the illustrations, and it's really cool that they translated it so well into 3D. The thing I like about Karasuba's character design is the contrast between the really saturated blue and purple versus the more reddish purple brown tones of her hair, and then the skirt as well. Seeing those tones underneath her hair and also on the feather and red ribbon tied at the back as well, it really creates a nice contrast, and I think Fujitoko is really talented at colours and colour schemes. This is a really unique design, I think, and it looks really nice as a figure. I think Kotobukiya has done a really good job at replicating those colours here. On the back she has her engine of sorts. These are all attached to them like backpacks in a way, since they are all called automata. It's sort of a humanoid robot, so they have these on their backs, and hers is quite different to Haizakura's one, and it's nice to see that they each have their own. And Karasuba in particular, I think hers quite suits her design. It's really cool to see from the back as well. It's something you can only really see on a figure too, since the illustrations are always of her from the front, so it's really cool to see this replicated in 3D. As for her outfit, this has also been replicated very nicely. I think the colours look really good. I really like Fujitoko's use of both warm and cold purple and blue. Since Fujitoko's art tends to be a very painted style, all of the nice textures and brush marks that she usually draws on her clothes are obviously lost a little bit here, but that's fine. It's not too much of an issue. It just can look a little bit different to if you're going to display her alongside the illustration, but The colour choices, on the other hand, I think Kotobukiya did a really good job here. She has her straps on the front there, and she also holds a menu. This menu is a separate piece, but you just slot this into her hands. And her hands as well, these have been sculpted quite nicely. Underneath you can also see the ribbon that ties her apron as well under there, which is nice to see, and also the frills on her apron, and the pleats of her skirt have been sculpted very well. They look really nice. I love the colour that they've gone for here. It looks very, very similar to the illustration, and it has some nice shading too. And something else I would like to point out is, similarly to Haizakura, she has a pattern on her underwear. Haizakura had some cherry blossoms, and Karasuba actually has some feathers, so they each match the character's name. On the table next to her we have her two accessories, so we have a soda float of sorts and then an extra spoon and also a plate. This is nice and I do like it, but I think that perhaps she could have had something a little bit more substantial. Haizakura had a full-on gramophone plus the tea, the milk and the dango on her tray. Karasuba seems like she's been let down just a little bit with the accessories here. They are very nice, but it's very small and there's only one thing here really. Haizakura had both food and drink and also a gramophone and a massive antique broken side table as such, and then a stand for the cafe as well. She looks like she's not got a lot with her, even though Haizakura has this really finished look to her with all of these items surrounding her. Karasuba's just sort of standing on her own with an empty table. This is the speaker that comes with Karasuba. This is her main accessory. It sits on the floor. It seems a little bit unfair that Karasuba didn't really get very much compared to Haizakura. It's not too much of a complaint, but I do wish she had some more. Just even one more of these soda float things would have been nice to see. But this goes on the floor. I've just taken it off of the peg to show you what it looks like, since once it's on the peg, it's a little bit hard to see behind her legs. My other complaint about this figure, and you may have noticed it in the video, is that she wobbles like crazy. She only has one peg on one leg. She doesn't have a peg in her right leg for some reason. It's just floating in the air, which is really weird because it's very close to the base and you could have easily fitted a peg into her other leg and it would still have looked like she was walking. If you touch her even slightly, she'll wobble a lot, so I'm not sure why they chose to do that when the other leg is positioned perfectly within the right distance to have another peg there, but they just didn't do it. I'm not too sure why. That's my main complaint with this figure, is I wish there had been another peg. The boots though, these have been replicated really well. This and also her engine as well. These are the most detailed parts, I'd say. It really matches both the base and also her accessories as well. And that concludes my review on Karasuba. I think overall she did turn out very, very nicely. I do just wish that she had come with a few more accessories or something a little bit bulkier to put on the table. When she's displayed with Haizakura, I feel as though she hasn't got a lot with her. It is nice to have the figures together and these matching accessories and bases to be together. I feel that that makes up for it, but if you only buy Karasuba on her own, then it may look a little bit empty. I do wish they had included something a little bit more. I've put a couple of Nagi and Karasuba stands there in its place. I am looking forward to the rest of the figures from Prima Doru. I have Gekka pre-ordered and she comes out this month, and hopefully we don't have such a long gap between Gekka and then either Hokiboshi or Reitseru. I'm hoping that they get announced or shown maybe during the summer One Fest or something. It would be very nice to have all 5 of them together. And I'm also looking forward to her CD, since her CD didn't come with the figure. I'm just waiting for it to be released separately. I'm not too sure what happened, but they couldn't produce them in time for the figure, so they're sending them separately. Hopefully that arrives soon. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!